Welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be looking at On Growth and Form by Darcy Wentworth Thompson.
Oh, a classic.
Yeah, and
Yep.
it's all about seeing the living world kind of through the
Yeah.
lens of math and physics.
Like the shapes.
Yeah, so,
Highlight nature.
like why is a honeycomb made of hexagons?
Right.
Why does a snail's shell spiral the way it does?
Mhm.
On Growth and Form might just hold the answers.
It's a really unique approach. Instead of just focusing on the biological reasons for these shapes,
Right.
Thomson looked at the mathematical and physical forces that were shaping them.
Go ahead.
It's a bit like seeing the world through the eyes of a sculptor
Okay.
who understands both the material and the forces that are acting upon it.
I like that. So instead of just asking why in a purely biological sense, he's asking how these forms are even possible
Yeah.
given the laws of physics.
Exactly. And what makes this book even more fascinating is how Thomson drew upon classical scholarship and geometry.
Yeah.
You might expect complex equations, but instead he relies on the elegance of, Pythagorean principles,
Right.
Newtonian physics.
It's approachable, yet profound.
Exactly.
Like a bridge between art and science,
Yeah.
showing that there's beauty and order hidden in the complexity of nature.
Absolutely.
And Thompson himself was quite the polymath.
Oh, absolutely. He was a classicist, a mathematician, a naturalist, all rolled into one.
Wow.
That very unique perspective allowed him to see these connections others might have missed.
Yeah. So how did he explain the forms that he observed if he wasn't relying on these traditional experiments?
Well, he focused on mathematical descriptions and physical analogies.
Okay.
So, for example, instead of just asking why a tree grows tall,
Right.
he explored how forces like gravity actually limit how tall a tree can grow.
Okay.
There's a fascinating example he uses involving Greenhill's analysis of a giant pine tree.
A giant pine tree.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with the limits of growth?
Well, Greenhill, who is a mathematician, used mathematical models to show that a specific type of pine, the kind that was used to make the Q flagstaff,
Okay.
could theoretically only grow to about 300 feet tall
Wow.
before its own weight would cause it to buckle.
Oh, wow.
And this highlights a crucial insight
Okay.
that the size of an organism isn't solely determined by its genes, but also by physical forces.
So even if a tree had the genetic potential to grow taller, physics is like, nope, that's not going to work.
Exactly.
It completely changes how we think about the limits of these biological forms.
Exactly. Thomson also used Froude's law, which was originally developed for comparing scheme-ship efficiency,
Okay.
to understand the relationship between an animal's lung surface area and its energy supply.
Okay.
It turns out the same principles apply.
So he's using engineering principles to understand the design of living organisms.
Yeah.
But what about the microscopic world? Do these principles apply at the cellular level?
Absolutely. In fact, Thomson was fascinated by surface tension and its role in shaping small organisms and cellular structures.
Okay.
He drew inspiration from Plateau's soap film experiments.
Soap films. How do those relate to living things?
Well, Plateau, who was a Belgian physicist,
Okay.
showed that soap films, due to surface tension, naturally formed these specific geometric shapes.
Okay.
Thomson realized that this same force could be shaping cells, influencing everything from their overall form to how they divide.
So something as simple as blowing a soap bubble can give us insights into the forces that are shaping life at the microscopic level.
Precisely, think about the shapes of amoeba or Spirogyra.
Right.
They're partly dictated by surface tension.
Wow.
Even the intricate skeletons of those tiny marine organisms, Radiolaria, are examples of how surface tension can create complex forms.
I'm starting to see surface tension everywhere now, like an invisible hand molding the microscopic world.
It's a powerful force at that scale.
Yeah.
And it's just one example of how Thomson used physics to understand the why behind the shapes we see in nature.
So we've talked about trees, we've talked about bones, even cells. But what about something like a honeycomb?
Right.
That's perfect hexagonal structure. Where does that fit in?
Well, Thomson was captivated by hexagonal symmetry in nature, from honeycombs to cell arrangements.
Okay.
He linked this to the concept of close packing, which is essentially the most efficient way to arrange things.
Right.
Hexagons allow for maximum space utilization and material efficiency.
So it's nature's way of optimizing.
Yeah, like a puzzle where every piece fits perfectly.
It makes you wonder if those bees are secretly mathematicians.
Well, there's actually a funny historical anecdote about that.
Oh.
There was a controversy surrounding honeycomb angle measurements.
Okay.
Maraldi, an Italian astronomer, claimed that bees had somehow solved this complex geometrical problem with incredible precision.
Wow.
But later mathematicians like Boscovich realized that level of precision was impossible with the tools at that time,
Oh.
suggesting that Maraldi might have let his theoretical calculations influence his observations a bit.
So maybe the bees aren't calculating angles,
Yeah.
but their instinctual drive to build efficiently still leads them to create these perfect hexagonal honeycombs. It speaks to nature's inherent tendency towards optimization.
Exactly. And this idea of efficiency and optimization is a recurring theme in Thomson's work.
Okay.
He saw it everywhere, from the microscopic world of cells to the macroscopic structures of organisms.
It's like nature has a set of design principles that it follows even without conscious thought.
Right.
And speaking of design principles, I know Thomson was also fascinated by spirals.
Yeah.
What did he have to say about those?
He was particularly interested in the equiangular spiral, especially in horns and shells.
Okay.
He connected this spiral to the principle of mnemonic growth, where each stage of growth builds upon the previous one, maintaining the same proportions.
Huh, interesting.
Think of a square that keeps adding smaller squares to its sides.
Okay.
The corners trace out a logarithmic spiral.
I'm starting to see spirals everywhere now. The Nautilus shell is a classic example.
Exactly, but Thomson went further,
Yep.
examining the diverse horn types of rhinoceroses, ruminants, and deer,
Wow.
showing how their spiral shapes reflect their unique growth patterns.
It's another testament to how a simple mathematical principle can manifest in a myriad of forms.
Yeah,
It's amazing how a single concept can unify such a diverse range of natural structures. It really highlights the power of Thomson's approach.
absolutely.
So what other insights did he gain from his mathematical lens?
Well, he took this approach to the mechanics of bone structure, drawing parallels to engineering principles.
Okay.
He argued that bones, like engineered structures, are designed to resist compression and tension following lines of stress for maximum strength.
So our skeletons are like miniature architectural marvels, carefully designed to withstand the forces we encounter in daily life.
Precisely. And this emphasis on the interconnectedness of form and function
Right.
is another hallmark of Thomson's work.
Okay.
He saw organisms as integrated systems where each part is shaped by and contributes to the whole.
But surely there are aspects of biological form that can't be explained solely through mechanics and geometry.
You're right.
Did Thomson ever acknowledge those limitations?
He recognized that while mechanics can explain a great deal,
There are still mysteries that remain unsolved.
Okay.
For example, he was intrigued by the concept of polarity in organisms,
right.
the distinct differentiation between head and tail, top and bottom.
Yeah.
Even with his mathematical prowess, he couldn't fully explain this phenomenon.
So even Thomson, with his incredible insights, encountered aspects of life that defied easy explanation.
It happened.
Makes me wonder if there are forces at play that we haven't even begun to understand.
That's a thought that Thomson himself entertained.
Okay.
He explored the concept of fluid crystals,
Okay.
wondering if their unique properties, a blend of liquid flow and solid-like order,
Okay.
might hold clues to more complex forces shaping life.
Fluid crystals, that's a new one for me.
Imagine a substance that can flow like a liquid,
Okay.
but whose molecules maintain a certain degree of order like a crystal.
Huh.
Thomson speculated that these properties might help explain phenomena like polarity,
Okay.
suggesting that there might be forces at play that go beyond our current understanding of physics. That's fascinating and somewhat mind-boggling.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what other mysteries lie hidden within the seemingly familiar forms of life.
Exactly. And it's that sense of wonder, that constant questioning that Thomson's work inspires in us.
Yeah.
He showed us that even the most familiar aspects of nature can hold profound secrets waiting to be unlocked through careful observation and a willingness to see the world through a different lens.
Through a mathematical lens.
Exactly. And it really is remarkable how Thomson was able to kind of weave together those big philosophical questions with the rigorous mathematical analysis.
Yeah.
But perhaps one of the most groundbreaking ideas in his work is his use of coordinate transformations
Right.
to show how evolution changes forms.
Yeah, you're talking about those visual transformations where he like morphs one shape into another by changing the grid they're drawn on.
Exactly.
It's almost like watching evolution in action.
Exactly. Thomson's method of transformation is visually stunning.
Yeah.
He takes the outline of one creature, say a fish, and he demonstrates how it can be mathematically transformed into something else, like a crab,
Wow.
just by altering the coordinates of the grid that surrounds the shape.
So could you give us an example of how these transformations actually work?
Sure.
It's kind of hard to picture without seeing it.
Imagine a simple grid with a fish shape inside.
Okay.
Now picture stretching that grid horizontally in certain areas
Okay.
and squeezing it in others.
Okay.
The fish, which is confined by this grid, starts to change along with it.
Uh-huh.
And by carefully manipulating the grid, you can gradually transform that fish shape into the distinctive form of a crab.
It's a powerful way to visualize evolution, isn't it?
It is.
It's not just random mutations happening in isolation.
Right.
It's about these coordinated changes across the whole organism.
Precisely. Thomson's transformations challenge the traditional view of evolution as a series of independent piecemeal changes.
Yeah.
Instead, he shows how the interconnectedness of an organism's parts dictates how it can evolve, how a change in one area will inevitably influence changes elsewhere.
So it's a much more holistic view of evolution.
It is.
We're not just looking at individual traits.
Yeah.
We're seeing the whole organism as this dynamic system undergoing these coordinated transformations.
Yeah. And his work with mammalian skulls
Right.
is a great example of this.
Yeah.
He shows how the skulls of mammals that seem completely different, like a human and a horse,
Right.
can actually be related through these coordinate transformations.
Wow.
It's like peeling back layers of evolutionary time to
Yeah.
see this underlying unity of form, that shared blueprint that these variations are built upon.
It's like finding the hidden connections in a family photo album, tracing how features change across generations.
Yeah.
Didn't he also apply these transformations to creatures that seem completely unrelated?
He did. Some of the most striking examples are transformations between fish and crabs.
Wow.
By stretching and compressing the grid, he shows how a basic fish shape can morph into the distinctive form of a crab, hinting at this deep underlying connection between these seemingly disparate creatures.
It's amazing how he reveals this hidden mathematical code governing the diversity of life.
Yeah.
Creatures that seem worlds apart could share a common origin, a common set of rules.
Right.
Did Thomson have any thoughts on how these transformations might actually occur in nature? Like, what drives these changes in form?
That's a question that still intrigues biologists today. So, well, Thomson brilliantly illustrated the geometric transformations that could lead to evolutionary change.
Right.
He didn't delve deeply into the specific biological mechanisms behind them.
Okay.
He recognized factors like genetics, development, and environmental pressures all play a role.
Of course.
But he left the details of those interactions for future generations to uncover.
So it's like he provided the map,
Yeah.
but left the exploration of the terrain to us.
Exactly.
What an incredible legacy on growth and form. Has been incredibly influential, hasn't it?
Oh,
The
absolutely.
raking fields from developmental biology to paleontology.
It's really remarkable.
Yeah.
Thomson's work has inspired generations of scientists to look beyond the superficial differences between organisms
Right.
and search for the underlying mathematical principles that govern their form.
Uh-huh.
His ideas continue to resonate today, especially as we develop ever more sophisticated tools to probe the mysteries of life.
It really speaks to the enduring power of his work that a book published over a century ago is still so relevant and thought-provoking.
I agree.
It reminds us that there's always more to discover,
Absolutely.
that the natural world is brimming with hidden patterns and connections waiting to be uncovered.
Precisely, Thomson's work encourages us to look at the world with fresh eyes,
Yeah.
to see the familiar in a new light, and to appreciate the profound beauty and order that underlie even the most complex forms of life.
Even as he explores this vast world of forms, Thomson never loses sight of the individual, does he?
No, he doesn't.
He emphasizes that each organism is a unique expression of these underlying principles, each a testament to nature's creative power.
Yes, and he encourages us to see ourselves as part of this grand tapestry of life,
Right.
recognizing that the same forces shaping a seashell or a sunflower
Yeah.
also shape our own bodies and minds.
It is a humbling thought. We're not just observers of nature, but active participants in this grand symphony of form, governed by the same laws and principles that have shaped life for millennia.
It really is.
If those basic principles of surface tension and close packing can create such intricate beauty, what other hidden patterns might we find if we look closely enough?
That's the beauty of science, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's always another layer to peel back,
Right.
another mystery to unravel, and with each discovery,
Yeah.
we gain a deeper appreciation for the elegance and complexity of the natural world.
As we delve deeper into those complexities, we start to see connections we might have missed before. Didn't Thompson touch on this when he discussed the limitations of traditional phylogenetic classifications?
He did. He argued that our tendency to categorize organisms based on superficial similarities can sometimes obscure the underlying mathematical relationships that connect them.
Okay.
He used the example of a fish and a crab, vastly different in appearance,
Right.
yet relatable through a series of coordinate transformations.
Yeah.
This suggests a deeper connection than their outward forms might imply.
So our traditional way of classifying life may not always capture the whole picture.
That's right. Thompson's work encourages us to look beyond those superficial categories and consider the possibility of deeper, more fundamental relationships between organisms,
Okay.
relationships that might only be revealed through mathematical analysis.
It reminds us that our understanding of life is always evolving and that new discoveries can challenge long-held assumptions. Speaking of challenging assumptions, didn't Thompson also address the role of heredity in shaping form?
He did, while acknowledging the importance of heredity.
Okay.
He cautioned against relying on it as the sole explanation for biological form.
Okay.
He argued that many aspects of form are explained by the direct action of physical forces and mathematical principles, rather than simply being inherited traits.
So it's not just about what's passed down through genes, it's also about how those genes interact with the physical environment during development.
Exactly. Thompson believed that heredity and environment work together to shape form.
Right.
Both nature and nurture play a role.
Yeah.
He emphasized the importance of understanding the physical and mathematical constraints governing biological form,
Okay.
regardless of an organism's genetic makeup.
So it's not a question of either or, but rather a complex interplay between genetics development and the environment.
Precisely, Thompson's work highlights the need for a more holistic approach to understanding biological form,
Right.
one that considers the dynamic interplay of these various factors.
It's a fascinating perspective,
Yeah.
and it underscores that life is never static, that it's constantly adapting and evolving in response to the forces that shape it.
Thompson also challenged the traditional Darwinian view of natural selection.
He did, although not directly.
Okay.
While he didn't refute Darwin's theory of evolution,
He offered an alternative perspective on how forms arise and change over time.
Right.
He argued that many aspects of form could be explained by the direct action of physical forces and mathematical principles,
Right.
rather than simply being the result of random variation in natural selection.
so instead of just surviving and reproducing organisms, are also actively responding to their environment, their forms adapting to the physical constraints they encounter.
That's right. Thompson's work suggests that natural selection isn't the only driving force behind evolutionary change.
Okay.
He proposed that inherent mathematical and physical principles guide the development of form, and that these principles can influence the direction of evolution.
So instead of just weeding out the unfit, evolution is also actively shaping the fit, guiding the development of form in response to environmental pressures.
Exactly. Thompson's work suggests there's more to evolution than just random chance and survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
It has set this deeper, more fundamental order, a set of rules governing the emergence of complexity and diversity in the natural world.
It makes you wonder if those rules are truly universal, how they might apply to other planets, to other forms of life that we haven't even discovered yet.
That's a thought-provoking question.
Yeah?
If the principles Thompson outlined are truly fundamental,
Right.
they should apply to life wherever it arises, shaping its form and guiding its evolution.
That expands the scope of on-growth and form, far beyond its original intent, turning it into a kind of cosmic blueprint for life itself. But even as we contemplate those grand possibilities, Thompson reminds us to appreciate the beauty and complexity of life right here on Earth.
He encourages us to look at the familiar with a renewed sense of wonder, to see the mathematical poetry hidden within a seashell, a sunflower, or even our own bodies.
It's a beautiful way to view the world, isn't it?
It is.
Seeing the interconnectedness of all things, the shared principles that unite the living and the non-living, the grand symphony of form unfolding all around us.
It also reminds us that there's always more to learn, that the quest to understand life, its origins, and its evolution is a never-ending journey.
And Darcy Wentworth Thompson, through his remarkable work on growth and form, helped set that journey in motion.
He provided the compass.
Wow.
Now it's up to us to chart the course, and as
Right.
we chart that course, we're bound to run into those lingering questions that Thompson himself wrestled with, those aspects of biological form that seem to kind of defy those straightforward mechanical explanations.
Right, like those gray areas.
Exactly, and he dedicated a good portion of On Growth and Form to exploring those very mysteries.
Yeah, one of the most fascinating chapters delves into the concept of minimal surfaces,
Yes.
shapes that enclose the largest volume with the least surface area.
Right.
And Thompson was intrigued by the fact that these shapes, which are often found in soap films and bubbles, also show up in living organisms.
It's true, he saw this connection between Plateau's soap film experiments and the forms of certain cells,
Okay.
arguing that surface tension could be shaping those cells into configurations that minimize their surface area.
So it's like nature's an architect obsessed with efficiency, always looking for ways to optimize its designs.
Exactly.
But Thompson also acknowledged that this analogy only goes so far, right? Some biological forms, while seemingly efficient, can't be fully explained by surface tension alone.
You're exactly right, and this is where the discussion takes a truly captivating turn.
Okay.
Thompson explored the idea that there might be other, less understood forces at work.
Okay.
Forces that contribute to the shaping of life in ways that we haven't quite grasped yet.
Interesting.
He even hinted at the possibility of a Gestaltungskraft, a shaping force operating beyond our current understanding of physics.
Gestaltungskraft, that sounds almost mystical.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It speaks to the depth of Thompson's thinking, his willingness to consider ideas that went beyond the conventional scientific thought of his time.
Right.
He recognized that there are still mysteries out there, that our understanding of life is far from complete.
So even with all his mathematical rigor, Thompson remained open to the possibility that there's more to life than equations and formulas.
Absolutely. He saw mathematics as a powerful tool for understanding the natural world.
Right.
But he never claimed it had all the answers. He knew there were profound mysteries still to be unraveled, and he left us with this legacy of questions that continue to inspire scientists today.
Yeah, it's that blend of scientific curiosity and philosophical inquiry that makes On Growth and Form such an enduring work.
I agree.
It's not just a biology textbook. It's a reflection on the very nature of life itself.
And it's a reminder that science isn't just about finding answers, but about asking the right questions.
Right.
Thompson's work teaches us to approach the world with a sense of wonder,
Yeah.
to appreciate the beauty and complexity in even the simplest forms,
Yeah.
and to never stop asking why.
It's a valuable lesson for all of us, scientists or not. It's a fitting tribute to the legacy of Darcy Wentworth Thompson, a man who saw the world through a lens of both mathematics and poetry, and who left us with a deeper understanding of this intricate tapestry of life.
He opened our eyes to those hidden patterns connecting all living things. Yeah.
The mathematical harmonies shaping our world, and the endless possibilities that await as we continue to explore the mysteries of growth and form.
Well, on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into On Growth and Form. We hope you've enjoyed this journey into the fascinating world of Darcy Wentworth Thompson, a world where science and art intertwine, where mathematics reveals the poetry of nature, and where the quest to understand life continues to unfold.
Keep those questions coming. Keep your eyes open to the wonders of the natural world, and never stop exploring that intricate dance between growth and form.